When life seems hard, when days merge into a gray mass, when each new step is given with pain, what to do when your soul cries out of fatigue? Perhaps you are at a crossroads right now, and it seems that the way forward is closed. But what if I told you that somewhere in antiquity, a great thinker left us clues? Marcus Aurelius has been called a wise emperor, a philosopher, a stoic. His words have endured through the ages. His teachings have saved thousands from despair. Today in this video, we'll take a look at 7 simple but powerful tips he left for those who are tired of life. Tips that make you think, tips that help you find light even in your darkest hour. Too often we look outside for answers, not realizing that the answers may already be inside us. We drown in striving and struggling, losing our true values. But what if we stop for a moment and listen to ancient wisdom? What if you let into your life a philosophy that has helped more than one generation get back on their feet? This issue is not for everyone. This issue is for those who are ready to take the first step to true understanding, ready to walk a path full of awareness and peace. And if you feel that your soul is asking for change, stay with us until the end. In this video, we will talk about the wisdom that can change your perception of life, the very wisdom that can give you back your strength and teach you how to truly live. After all, as Marcus Aurelius said, we can only change ourselves, not the world around us. Let's start this journey inside ourselves. Tip 1. Take control of your thoughts and feelings. When the world seems hostile and negative thoughts attack from all sides, we often forget one of the most valuable ideas of Stoicism. We have control over our own thoughts and feelings. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius begins with this simple but profound principle. Looking back on his life, he repeatedly emphasized that our mind is our refuge, and by changing our thoughts, we are able to change our very perception of the world. Our happiness depends on the quality of our thoughts, wrote Marcus Aurelius. Think about it. How often do you let the events or people around you control your mood? How often does the outside world dictate how you feel and react? In fact, no one but you has this power. Only you and no one else control your attitude toward what happens. Stoicism teaches us to look inside ourselves, to seek there that point of peace which remains unchanged, regardless of external circumstances. After all, everything that happens to us is just events. But how we react to them, what we think and feel, is our choice. Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by political intrigue, wars and betrayals, and yet he maintained inner peace. He was able to rise above his circumstances because he realized that it is impossible to control the world around him, but you can always control your thoughts. In every difficult moment, his philosophy was to remind himself external events are only an illusion, and the only truth is the inner world. But what does it mean to control your thoughts? Let's start by recognizing when our mind takes us aside. Recognize that your reaction is not an automatic response, but a choice you make every second. For example, you are criticized. Instead of reacting immediately to the offense, stop and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Perhaps you feel offended because you internally agree with the criticism, or because you fear that the criticism is true. When you learn to realize that thoughts are not you, that they come and go like clouds in the sky, you will begin to find freedom. Thoughts are only a consequence of your perception, and if you change that perception, you can change yourself. Aurelius said, if you suffer from the external, the pain comes not from the object itself, but from your evaluation of it. So it is the evaluation that gives rise to suffering. Try to practice this. Watch your thoughts as if they were voices from outside. They have no power if you don't react to them. You are like a spectator in a movie theater watching a movie. The movie is on the screen, but you don't have to immerse yourself in its events. Your mind is the screen, and only you decide what movie is shown there. This principle may seem too simple, but its power lies in its practice. As Marcus Aurelius said, Stoicism is not just a philosophy, it is a way of life. So start each day with a short meditation. Imagine your thoughts, let them appear, but do not let them take over your attention. Let yourself realize that thoughts are just thoughts, and they have no power over you. When you become an observer, you see thoughts come and go. This allows you to choose which ones to support and which ones to let go. If a thought is causing you pain, ask yourself, how can I change this thought? Is there another perspective? In the end, it is you who decides which beliefs to keep to yourself and which ones to leave behind. There is a method to help you strengthen this skill: the detached observer technique. Every morning, remind yourself that you are the observer of your life, that you don't have to react to every thought and emotion that arises in your mind. It will be difficult at first. Thoughts will try to grab your attention, and some of them will seem so strong that you will want to believe them. But remember that your goal is not to resist, but to observe. Try to realize the difference between the inner and the outer. If you find yourself in a difficult situation, remember that you cannot change the world around you, but you can change yourself. After all, how often Marcus Aurelius, being in the thick of a political struggle, remembered that true power is power over your own mind. Every morning, before starting a new day, remind yourself that you are the master of your thoughts. Your perception creates your world, and every new day is a chance to create a new inner world. This is how Aurelius found the strength to move forward, leaving the weight of external problems behind and focusing on the inner. It is as if he were saying to himself, "Today I will not let anything outside disturb my inner world. I choose my thoughts." Remember that this control is your key to freedom. After all, as Marcus Aurelius said, change your thoughts and your life will change. Tip 2. Embrace the transience of life and stop clinging to fears. Life flows quickly. Time is the most precious thing we have, yet we often spend our days worrying about the future or looking back on past mistakes. Marcus Aurelius' second tip is to recognize the transience of life, accept its inevitability, and stop clinging to fears. Recognizing the transience of life gives us incredible power, the ability to free ourselves from fears and appreciate each moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Live in each moment as if you were already dead. Let the past be like a dream left behind, and the future like a dream that may not come true." These words encourage us to realize that life is short and does not guarantee a tomorrow or future possibilities. So instead of worrying about what will be, we should focus on the present, on what we have here and now. For many people, fear of the future is a constant companion. We are afraid that we might lose something important, afraid of not having time to do everything we have planned, afraid of making mistakes. But if we realize that all things come and that we cannot control the future, fear begins to lose its power. This is what Stoic acceptance is all about, giving up obsessive control, for it is illusory. Aurelius knew that even his imperial power would not save him from the inevitable end, and in realizing this, he found freedom. He could not stop time, but he could accept its nature, accept that everything passes. And this acceptance helped him to remain calm, even when circumstances were unfavorable. In ancient Roman society, where power and ambition ruled people, he reminded himself, "Everything we have is fleeting." When we understand and accept this transience, our fears become less significant. We stop clinging to desires and resentments. We are freed from anxiety. We begin to appreciate each moment because we know it will not be repeated. Imagine how different your life would be if you perceived each moment, each encounter, and each event as something unique that happens to you once. How much attention and sincerity would appear in your relationships and affairs? Aurelius taught that fear and anxiety about the future take our energy, making us hostage to illusions. We lose the ability to enjoy the present when we worry about what might happen. Or, on the contrary, we are tormented by memories of the past. But the truth is that none of these times, neither the past nor the future, belong to us. We have only the here and now, only this moment that stands before us, and it is up to us to live it. Mindfulness practice is one way to practice this approach. Try to pay attention to what is happening around you in the present moment. Breathe in the air, feel its coolness, notice details, light, shadows, sounds. Feel how your body interacts with the environment. The more often you stop and come back to the present, the stronger will be the realization that the present moment is your real life, and everything else is an illusion. When we get used to focusing on the present, life becomes fuller and brighter. We feel every second of it, see the value in even the simplest things. This allows us to overcome our fear of the future. Accepting that everything passes gives us a wonderful peace of mind. We realize that there is no need to hurry, no need to try to control what is beyond our control. This is exactly what Marcus Aurelius did, reminding himself every day that we are all mortal. Not to be afraid, but to live each day with meaning, realizing our frailty. After all, as he wrote, life is short, and therefore it is not worth spending it on fear and anxiety. Begin each day with a little meditation on transience. Accept that each morning you encounter is a rare gift. If you live with the awareness of this gift, fear recedes in gratitude, for each moment of life replaces anxiety. Tip 3. Don't let the outside world dictate your value. In a world full of competition and constant comparison, it's easy to lose your sense of self-worth. We live among standards that dictate what a successful person should be, what the right life should be. But what would Marcus Aurelius say to this? He would answer that your true worth is determined only by yourself and in no way depends on other people's views or opinions. You have everything in you to live a worthy life, he wrote. This thought of the Stoics asserts, all external achievements and accolades are temporary and illusory. They do not define who you are. Real value comes from within, from how you see yourself, from whether you live in harmony with your principles. If your happiness depends on other people's approval, then you are giving away your power to others. But true freedom and confidence are born when you learn to rely on yourself, not on other people's evaluations. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, knew that the fame and acclaim of those around him could easily fade away. He saw how the same people could admire him and the next day criticize and even hate him. And then he would remind himself, all that is outside is transient and beyond our power. This wisdom helped him maintain inner peace, even when he was judged or misunderstood. He knew that the opinions of others could not truly change his inner nature. Once you realize this truth, you can gain an invisible armor. You will stop seeking acceptance from others and begin to create your own standards based on what is important to you. Think about what makes sense to you. What qualities or actions make you stronger, make you better? Create your value system and follow it, regardless of what the world around you thinks. Accepting this thought is incredibly liberating. If someone doesn't approve of your choices or your opinion, you can calmly accept it while staying true to yourself. Realizing that other people's words can't change who you are, you gain the power to move forward despite criticism or skepticism. Aurelius reminds us that inner peace is something that no one can take away or change. External things, wealth, recognition, success, do not give true satisfaction unless they are based on an inner alignment with yourself. If you see your life as a reflection of your beliefs and values, the external ceases to affect your happiness. You feel a deep satisfaction in living honestly and in alignment with yourself. To begin this journey, pay attention to your inner principles. What is really important to you? What are your true goals and aspirations that are not tied to other people's expectations? Write them down, affirm them for yourself, and make them the guide for your life. When we live according to our own principles, we feel peace and confidence, and this allows us to stand firm despite outside hesitation and criticism. Knowing your own worth makes you independent. Instead of wasting time trying to prove something to others, you start working on becoming the best version of yourself. Aurelius taught us, true greatness is what is within. This is the essence of Stoicism, not looking for happiness externally, but finding it within yourself, realizing that the outside world cannot change your true worth. Tip 4. Let go of anger and accept the inevitable. Anger is a feeling that can burn from the inside out. It overwhelms us when we are faced with injustice, failure, disappointment. Anger seems to be a natural reaction to the world not living up to our expectations. But Marcus Aurelius saw it as a destructive feeling that only harms us. One of the most important lessons he teaches us is the art of releasing anger and accepting the inevitable. You can curb your rage, he said. Aurelius did not urge us to suppress our emotions, but to look at them soberly, consciously. Anger is a fire that burns out quickly and leaves only ashes, but during its outbreak it robs us of our reason and calm. It draws us into a whirlpool from which it is difficult to escape. Therefore, according to Aurelius, anger should be seen as an external force that tries to invade our mind, but has no true power over it. Why do we get angry? Most often it has to do with the expectations we place on others and on the world in general. We want things to happen a certain way. We want people to behave in ways that seem right to us. And when the world or people don't live up to those expectations, resentment erupts within us. But Marcus Aurelius advised us to re-examine our expectations and realize that not everything in this world will be the way we want it to be. In fact, much of life doesn't depend on us at all. Aurelius taught us to accept the inevitable, whether it be human mistakes, shortcomings, or any other circumstances that lie beyond our control. When we realize that we cannot really control everything around us, we gain freedom. We are freed from the pressure we ourselves create when we try to control the uncontrollable. Freedom from anger begins with accepting that each of us has a different nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "People do things in their own way, and if someone does something against you, ask yourself if you have ever done such a thing. This means that no one is perfect. And if someone does something you don't like, remember that each person is limited by his or her own knowledge, experience, and perception. Instead of judging and getting angry, think about the fact that everyone has his or her own way." When we realize this, anger loses its power. We stop reacting to every injustice or criticism, seeing it as just a manifestation of human nature as it is. After all, even when people make mistakes, it doesn't mean they mean to hurt you. Perhaps their actions are simply the result of their own experiences or limitations. Realizing this helps develop compassion and tolerance. The practice of releasing anger is related to one important principle of Stoicism: accepting reality as it is. If you are experiencing anger, try asking yourself, will this help me in the future? Will it change the situation? In most cases, the answer will be negative. Anger only inflames the conflict, causes more discontent, and creates a negative atmosphere around you. It does not solve the problem, but rather prevents you from seeing it objectively and calmly looking for a way out. Aurelius spoke of the need to shift the focus from what irritates us to what we can change in ourselves. Instead of getting angry, use the energy of this feeling to become stronger. Develop inner calm, even when storms are raging around you. After all, the strength of a true Stoic is to remain as still as a rock, despite the turmoil of the world around you. Every morning, remind yourself that the world doesn't have to be the way you want it to be. People don't have to conform to your expectations. The less expectations you have, the less cause for disappointment and anger. Realize that anger is a reaction to things you can't change. And if you can't change them, why get angry? Practicing forgiveness is another powerful tool. If someone has done you an injustice, try to let go of the situation. Forgiveness is not an act of weakness, but an act of strength that allows you to remain calm and in control of your emotions. By forgiving, you free yourself from the anger and rage that only poisons your inner state. Instead of letting anger control you, realize that anger is just a feeling and you are free to choose how to react to it. Be the master of your mind. Don't let your emotions take over your state. As Marcus Aurelius said, the greatness of a man is not that he gives in to anger, but that he knows how to overcome it. Try practicing tolerance every day. When things go wrong, remind yourself that your peace is in your hands. Your choice is either to remain at peace with yourself or to let anger destroy your inner balance. Each time you choose peace over anger, you will build your strength. Marcus Aurelius knew that anger is the enemy of reason. He realized that every minute spent in anger is a minute spent destroying his inner world. He found inspiration in the realization that true strength is in accepting the inevitable and maintaining inner peace. And if you can learn this lesson, you will find an amazing freedom that will allow you to walk through life with a clear mind and a peaceful heart. Tip 5. Learn to enjoy simple things and avoid excesses. The modern world is full of excess. We are surrounded by advertisements that promise happiness in new purchases, in status, in achievements. But Marcus Aurelius, one of the most influential men of his time, taught us to rejoice in simplicity and to find happiness in everyday things. This is his 5th piece of advice. Learn to be content with small things and avoid excess. For Aurelius, true satisfaction did not come from possessions, but from the ability to find joy in existence itself. He knew that the pleasure associated with material things is fleeting. As is often the case, we want something, strive for it, but once achieved, we quickly lose interest and start looking for something new. This is how it repeats over and over again, creating a cycle that keeps us trapped in lust and dissatisfaction. Wealth is not how much you have, but how much you don't need, said Aurelius. This advice is still relevant today, when many people strive for external manifestations of success and forget about inner peace. But the truly rich is the one who can rejoice without excess, finding meaning in simple things. When you are free from dependence on the external, your life becomes easier because you are no longer attached to material objects. Stoicism teaches that the most important happiness is in being able to appreciate what we already have. Instead of chasing after what we don't have, try pausing and reflecting how many wonderful things are already surrounding you every day. A simple cup of morning coffee, clean air, the warmth of the sun, the smile of loved ones. All of these things are available to each of us, but often go unnoticed in the pursuit of something greater. Marcus Aurelius understood that happiness is a state of mind, not the result of external circumstances. He wrote, "If you want to be happy, learn to enjoy the present moment." This means that we can find joy in everyday life, if only we pay attention to it. Stop and think, what exactly makes you happy? Perhaps it's not that complicated and doesn't require the effort we are used to putting in the pursuit of well-being. But rejoicing in simplicity doesn't mean giving up goals or aspirations. It means we can be ambitious without being slaves to our desires. When we have clarity and peace of mind, we become more aware and can make choices that are truly important to us, rather than being dictated by external standards. Simplicity allows us to free our minds from constant worries about how to get more. It allows us to experience that happiness is not about excess. The simpler we live, the more we can focus on development, self-knowledge, and strengthening our spirits. It reminds us that we are able to find peace and harmony when we are in harmony with ourselves and what we already have. Aurelius advised avoiding luxury because it creates the illusion of happiness. It binds us to things, making them important in our lives. But true happiness is not born from the possession of things, but from inner peace and the ability to appreciate every moment of life. A simple way of living allows us to understand ourselves better and to enjoy the purity and fullness of the present moment. The practice of gratitude is a powerful tool for developing the ability to appreciate simple things. Take time each day to notice what you are grateful for. It can be anything: a comfortable home, health, loved ones, opportunities for growth. Write these moments down and return to them when you feel you are missing something. This practice reminds us that we already have everything in life to be happy. Giving up excesses also helps strengthen our will. When we learn to give up unnecessary things, we become stronger, no longer dependent on things and other people's opinions. We gain confidence and inner freedom, which allows us to go our own way, rather than conforming to society's standards. For Aurelius, wealth was about wisdom and peace of mind, not material possessions. He saw how many aspired to fame and fortune, but once they achieved it, they were still unsatisfied. Realizing this, he found strength in the ability to be content with little, seeing happiness in a simple, meaningful life. So, try to emphasize simplicity in your life. Evaluate what really brings you joy. Perhaps it is not objects or status at all, but moments that do not depend on external circumstances. Tip 6. Cultivate patience and humility in the face of time. The world we live in is hurried and demands immediate results. We are used to instant gratification, quick decisions, quick food, quick information. But Marcus Aurelius taught us patience and humility before time. He understood that greatness and wisdom require a long journey, and only those who know how to wait can comprehend the true values of life. Everything that is great requires time, he wrote. Aurelius knew that nature is not in a hurry and that every event has its own time. Agree. It is difficult to imagine that the river was in a hurry to the sea or a tree hurried to grow in one day. The world is arranged so that everything goes its way, and this is the natural order of things. But man, in his desire to speed up the process, often forgets about the need for time. Aurelius taught us to be patient, especially in difficult times, because every moment, every trial we go through is a step on the way to wisdom and understanding. And if we learn to accept temporary difficulties and see them as an opportunity for growth, we can find incredible peace of mind and confidence. Patience is not just the ability to wait, but the ability to remain calm and balanced when results are not yet achieved. Aurelius believed that each of us must cultivate this quality. For it is only patience that allows us not to give up and to continue on our path, even if it seems that success is still far away. We must realize that any meaningful change takes time and effort. And if we can accept this, we can achieve more than if we act in haste. Patience is also related to the ability to wait for the right time. Aurelius realized that often our actions don't bear immediate fruit, but that doesn't mean they aren't important. He taught that every action, even the smallest one, brings us closer to our goal. It's just that sometimes the fruits of our labor don't become apparent until later. We must trust the process and remember that patience brings rewards to those who believe in themselves and their cause. In addition, humility before time helps us realize that not all things are up to us. Aurelius wrote that we only have control over our thoughts and actions. Everything else is the result of the natural course of events, which we cannot speed up. When we realize this, we gain inner freedom and can stop worrying about things beyond our control. Humility before time teaches us to respect the process and not to expect instant results. When we get used to being patient with life, we become less stressed and less worried about the future. After all, we know that everything will come in its own time if we act consciously and honestly towards ourselves. Sometimes we want to see results immediately, but true mastery lies in savoring each step. Remember that it is not only the final destination that matters, but the process itself, each moment that brings us closer to the goal. Even if the road seems long, each small victory, each effort is an achievement. When you face difficulties, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. Realize that time is your ally, not your enemy. The more you learn patience, the stronger you become. Tip 7. Develop inner freedom and don't let others control your mind. Of all of Marcus Aurelius' advice, this one is perhaps the most profound. To develop inner freedom means to be independent of the opinions, influences, and expectations of others. Aurelius taught that true peace and happiness can only be found if we free ourselves from the constant influence of the outside world. This advice sounds especially relevant today, when social media and societal pressures can so easily lead us astray. Your soul belongs to you, wrote Marcus Aurelius. He believed that only we ourselves can control our minds, our thoughts, and reactions. No one and nothing can dictate to us how to think or how to perceive what is happening. Aurelius urged us to cultivate independence of mind and not to give in to outside influences. This does not mean that we should ignore others, but that we should remain true to ourselves and not let others determine our inner state. One of the biggest mistakes we can make is to let the opinions of others control our self-image. From childhood, we are used to receiving outside evaluation, listening to the opinions of others, and seeking their approval. But Marcus Aurelius taught us that this is the path to dependence, not freedom. True strength comes when you can confidently follow your path, despite criticism and the opinions of others. Inner freedom is the realization that your values and principles are more important than societal standards. When we are guided only by the outside world, we become hostage to expectations that dictate what our behavior should be. But when we develop inner strength, we gain the confidence that allows us not to succumb to others' judgments or depend on approval. Marcus Aurelius believed that our perception of the world shapes our reality. If we allow others to control our thoughts, we voluntarily give them control over our lives. But if we learn to filter outside information and stay true to our beliefs, we become unshakable. We gain the ability to maintain inner peace, even in turbulent times, because we know that our perceptions are under our control. Aurelius taught us to see the difference between what is in our power and what is not. We cannot control the words and actions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. And when we realize this, we become truly free. The outside world cannot hurt us if we remain confident in our own worth and our own decisions. By developing inner freedom, you can resist the temptation to conform to other people's expectations and stop worrying about other people's opinions. This does not mean that you become indifferent. It means that you clearly know who you are and do not let others dictate how to live your life. Let your actions be determined not by your desire for approval, but by your inner principles and values. You have listened to the end. You have learned 7 powerful tips from Marcus Aurelius that can change your perception. 7 steps that do not require wealth, fame, or high positions, only awareness, only the willingness to change yourself. But wisdom is not just words, it is practice. These tips are not just abstract thoughts of an ancient philosopher. They are the keys to a life of peace and balance, to a life where calm becomes a support and every moment becomes an opportunity for growth. This is what gives Stoicism, the wisdom proven over centuries, the strength that helps you stand up and move forward, even when everything seems foggy and hopeless. If these words resonated with you, if you found in them even a drop of inspiration, if you felt that this path is yours, subscribe to our channel. We walk this path together with you. We create a community of people seeking inner peace, awareness, and wisdom. Leave a comment, share your thoughts and feelings. Perhaps you yourself have found words that can inspire others. Let's develop our path together. Watch our videos, be inspired by the ancient ideas, and discover the truths that will help you stay strong and resilient. And remember, as Marcus Aurelius taught, our happiness depends on the quality of our thoughts.